Welcome back to the Exposure History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. In October 1901, Annie Taylor, a 63-year-old teacher from Michigan, made history as the first person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel with her cat beside her. Miraculously, they both survived the 167-foot drop. Annie only suffered a small cut on her forehead while exiting the barrel. A couple poses with a two-person cigarette holder in this 1954 photo by Yale Joel. The playful invention allowed two people to smoke a single cigarette together. A scene from White Heat, 1949, a crime classic film. James Cagney delivers a powerful performance as Cody Jarrett, a ruthless yet fragile mob leader bound to his domineering mother, played by Margaret Wycherley. Virginia Mayo stars as Verna, his unfaithful wife caught between loyalty and fear. In this 1977 photo, Elvis Presley performs on stage during the final year of his life. By then, his health had sharply declined under a heavy dependence on prescription drugs. His doctor reportedly prescribed over 10,000 doses of sedatives, amphetamines, and narcotics that year alone. A 12-year-old Jimi Hendrix drew this picture of Elvis Presley after seeing him perform live in 1954. The sketch, surrounded by handwritten song titles, shows the deep impression Elvis made on young Hendrix. But does that look like Donald Trump? American prisoners of war, Lee Rogers, a retired Navy Yard worker, and John Todd, a miner, sit outside the Santo Tomas internment camp in the Philippines after its liberation on February 5, 1945. Both survived 4 brutal years of captivity. Rogers' weight fell from 145 to 90 pounds, and Todd's from 178 to 102. A French woman leans down to pour cider for a British Bren gunner in Lisieux, France, August 1944. Taken soon after the town's liberation, a simple act of kindness shared between civilians and soldiers. A woman stands proudly beside the Crossley Radio Corporation's 1937 Superpower radio receiver. It was built to handle the powerful superstation in Cincinnati. The radio was one of the largest ever made. A soldier models an experimental acoustic listening device with 2 large metal dishes around his head. Before radar, crews used gear like this to hear approaching aircraft and judge their direction. Variants appeared in several countries in the 1910s to 1930s. The technology quickly disappeared once wartime radar made long-range detection far more reliable. In 1987, a young Barack Obama visited his father's homeland in Kenya. He stands beside his grandmother, Sarah Obama, carrying a sack over his shoulder in a village setting. This trip to Koglo helped him learn his family story and later added to his memoir, Dreams from My Father. Raquel Welch sits with Dick Cavett on his talk show in 1972. She was then promoting Kansas City Bomber. After becoming a global star from 1 Million Years, B.C. Cavett was known for sharp, thoughtful interviews. Welch's deerskin bikini image had already become one of the most famous movie posters of the 1960s. Bluetooth technology was named after King Harold Bluetooth Gormson, a Viking ruler from over 1,000 years ago who united Denmark and Norway. The Bluetooth logo combines 2 Nordic runes and B in its initials. His nickname's origin is debated. Some say he loved blueberries, while others claim he had a dark, discolored tooth. 5 lumberjacks stand before a colossal redwood, their hand saws cutting through its massive trunk. Captured in 1889, the photo shows the scale of logging before modern machinery. These old-school loggers relied only on muscle and teamwork to fell trees that were often over 1,000 years old and taller than buildings. A woman tests a strange 1940s invention, the waterproof cigarette. Created by Alan M. Bond Jr., it used a special wet-proof paper designed to stay lit even when wet. Bond filed a patent for it, hoping to make smoking possible in rain, humidity, or even while washing up. Crowds gather around a display as the first iPhone sits under glass. June 29, 2007. Many were seeing multi-touch, a full web browser, and visual voicemail on a phone for the first time. Apple sold over 270,000 units that opening weekend. A fearless performer balances on 2 chairs set atop a table at the edge of a Manhattan rooftop, 1910s. Such stunts were part of the human fly craze, where daredevils risked their lives for thrill and spectacle long before safety harnesses or CGI, all to entertain crowds far below. An aerial view of Kowloon Walled City in Hong Kong taken in 1989. Within its 2.6-hectare space lived around 50,000 people, packed into hundreds of interconnected buildings. Once a lawless maze of homes, workshops, and clinics, the city is one of those extreme urban densities before being demolished in 1994. In 1916, Quentin D. Corley, a double amputee, was photographed driving a car using a special steering mechanism he designed himself. Even more remarkably, he also invented and patented the prosthetic arms he used. Corley's innovation demonstrated early advancements in adaptive technology. Women in the Azores wear their traditional hooded capes, known as capote e capello. The oversized hoods shielded faces from Atlantic wind and rain and offered privacy in small island towns, most common on São Miguel in the 1800s and early 1900s. Market trader Alfred Bailey balances 15 stacked baskets on his head while training for the basket-carrying championships at Covent Garden, London in 1925. Such contests tested balance, celebrating the physical skill of porters who moved heavy loads daily in one of the city's busiest markets. Abby Pudgy Stockton effortlessly lifts 135 pounds overhead on a California beach in 1946. At only 5 feet 2 inches and weighing 115 pounds, she became one of the pioneers of women's strength culture. Her athletic feats and magazine features helped inspire the rise of female bodybuilding and fitness in post-war America. On January 15, 1919, Boston faced one of the strangest disasters in U.S. history, the Great Molasses Flood. A massive storage tank burst, releasing over 2 million gallons of molasses. The 15-foot-high wave rushed through the streets at 35 miles per hour, destroying buildings and killing 21 people in its path. A young strong man in Mongolia lifts a huge barbell overhead as a packed crowd watches with delight. The photo, taken in 1956, shows a joyous Naadam festival where feats of strength are celebrated. Wrestling is Mongolia's national sport, and public displays like this honored power and balance. An early attempt at a portable telephone, around 1880. A leather harness holds a candlestick receiver and a boxy battery-powered transmitter near the shoulder. The rig weighed about 10 pounds, so mobile meant wearable rather than pocket-sized, showing how far telephone design still had to go. Kneeling by a home cabinet in 1952, a young woman checks a hi-fi tube record player. Vacuum tubes power the amplifier, giving the warm mono sound people loved. By then, LP records were a few years old, so families could add albums and play longer sets without changing discs as often. A police officer in Los Angeles drives a motorcycle fitted with a mobile holding cell, circa 1920. The cage was designed to transport detainees directly from the streets to the station. Early police equipment like this reflected the experimental period of law enforcement before modern patrol cars became standard. In this 1950 photograph, a smiling beauty queen is crowned Miss Atomic by uniformed officers, her tiara topped with a small mushroom cloud replica. Sewing Book, 1833, Ireland, a rare needlework manual used to teach sewing and embroidery. It includes real fabric samples, hand-stitched patterns, and even miniature garments sewn with care. Books like this were created to showcase skill and precision. French film star Mylène Demongeot leans against a sunlit wall in 1960, holding a guitar like a street performer. Famous across Europe by her 20s, she later co-starred in the hit Fantomas trilogy. de Montgiott's long career made her popular during the post-war French cinema and popular culture. A man demonstrates Alexander Graham Bell's first telephone, an early version of the device that forever changed communication. The photograph, taken between 1915 and 1925, shows how Bell's invention transformed sound into electrical signals. London's tiniest shop, around 1900, a shoe seller works from a cubby just 1.2 square meters in size, about 3 by 4 feet. He sits beneath a storefront window with pears lined at his knees, taking orders through a hatch. Micro shops like this were common for street traders with little space or money. On February 12, 1936, people walked across the frozen Mississippi River from East St. Louis to St. Louis under the Eads Bridge. The brutal winter of 1936 brought record cold across the U.S. The river rarely freezes this far south, but near-zero temperatures made the ice firm enough to cross. A curious beauty device from 1944, this metal nose-shaping tool was designed to reshape the nose without surgery. It was claimed to permanently alter bone structure with regular use. The device, once promoted as a cosmetic breakthrough, helps with non-invasive facial enhancement. On September 25, 1961, 77-year-old Frieda Schulze risked her life to flee East Berlin, climbing out of her apartment window to reach the West. Just weeks after the Berlin Wall's construction, such escapes were against the Soviet-controlled regime that divided families and a city overnight. A traveling wine cellar in Tbilisi carries bulging wineskins over his shoulders around the 1880s. Georgia claims one of the world's oldest winemaking traditions, with clay Kvevri vessels used for fermentation since antiquity. Photographer Dmitry Yermakov documented everyday Caucasus life. A woman poses proudly with her Siamese cats in the 1930s. Known for their blue eyes and cream coats, Siamese cats were among the first Eastern breeds to gain popularity in Europe and America. Their talkative nature made them favorites among high society women, who often treated them like rare companions. A woman pilots the Dynasphere, an experimental monocycle tested in England in 1931. Invented by Dr. Purvis, it placed the driver and engine inside one huge wheel. A small petrol motor drove the rim, and prototypes reportedly hit 30 miles per hour. But steering and braking proved tricky, causing gerbling inside the wheel. An aerial view of the massive Hughes H-4 Hercules, better known as the Spruce Goose, under construction in Playa Vista, California, February 1947. Designed by Howard Hughes, the wooden aircraft was the largest flying boat ever built, with a wingspan longer than a football field. It flew only once, on November 2, 1947. In 1982, two businessmen in northern Indiana smashed a Japanese car during a fundraiser. People paid $1 per swing with a sledgehammer. The money aided families of laid-off steelworkers. The Rust Belt was in deep recession, and U.S. automakers were losing sales to cheaper, reliable imports. Two men known as the Kashmir Giants stand beside American photographer James Ricalton in 1903. Ricalton, who traveled across Asia documenting cultures, was fascinated by their extraordinary height, both said to be over 7 feet tall. A smiling Amelia Earhart studies a map of the Pacific with her navigator, Fred Noonan, beside their Lockheed Model 10 Electra in 1937. The map outlines their planned route around the world. Both vanished with no trace during the flight near the Phoenix Islands. Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Duchess Sophie, walked through Sarajevo in 1914, just moments before their assassination. Their deaths would trigger the First World War. This rare photograph captures the unawareness of the historic event about to unfold that would change the course of the 20th century. President John F. Kennedy, First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy, and Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson watched the live broadcast of America's first manned spaceflight on May 5, 1961. The historic moment makes Alan Shepard's 15-minute flight aboard Freedom 7 a key milestone in the early years of the U.S. space race. Passengers line up to board a Pan-American Sikorsky S-40 flying boat in 1932. These early ocean-hopping airliners connected Miami with the Caribbean and Latin America. The roomy cabin, steward service, and long range made them a luxury travel at the dawn of international commercial aviation. A woman writes a message on a wall in Berlin, 1945, hoping her family might find it. After the war's devastation left homes in ruins, survivors often wrote names and directions on walls to reconnect with loved ones. Prince Charles, Princess Diana, and Queen Elizabeth II attend an event in Scotland in 1981. Diana was just 20 and newly married that summer. The royal family often spent the late summer at Balmoral Castle. Public interest in the couple was immense, with their wedding watched by an estimated 750 million people worldwide. A woman fastens an early version of a car seat belt in the 1950s, a rare feature at the time. Most vehicles didn't come equipped with seat belts until safety regulations caught up in the 1960s. The 1966 Motor Vehicle Safety Act later made seat belts standard. At Rickards High School in Tallahassee, 1965, the principal measures a student's skirt with a ruler to enforce the dress code. Many schools then required hemlines to fall near the knee and band tight clothing. These were the time's strict rules for girls' appearance before later student rights movements. Men gather around the Mona Lisa as it returns to the Louvre in Paris, 1914. The painting had been stolen in 1911 by an Italian worker who believed it belonged in Italy. Its recovery 2 years later turned Leonardo da Vinci's masterpiece into one of the most famous paintings in the world. An early 1980s school computer lab filled with Apple II systems. Each unit combines keyboard, motherboard, and floppy drives, feeding green text to monochrome monitors. Students learned BASIC, typed reports, and played educational titles like Oregon Trail on 5.25-inch discs. Affordable and durable, the Apple II became the classroom standard across the United States. Marilyn Monroe meets Queen Elizabeth II at the Royal Film Performance in London, 1956. Monroe was in Britain filming The Prince and the Showgirl and wore a shimmering gold dress that drew headlines. An interesting note: both women were 30 that year, each already a global icon in very different worlds. Queen Victoria with Abdul Karim, her Indian attendant and teacher, late 1880s. She called him the Munshi and learned Urdu from him, giving him homes and honors. Their closeness angered the royal household, which saw him as an outsider. After Victoria died in 1901, the family dismissed him, seized his gifts, and sent him back to India. An iron-studded door from 1380 in Regensburg, Germany. The V-shaped brass guide funnels a big medieval key straight to the keyhole. It helped owners find the lock at night or after a few beers. Many German homes then used heavy warded keys and thick oak doors, so a metal key ramp saved time and fumbling. A group of young mechanics gathers inside a Harley-Davidson workshop in the 1920s, studying the design of an early motorcycle under the guidance of an instructor. This kind of hands-on training was essential during Harley's rise, as the brand's V-twin engines became the standard for American motorcycles and military use. Young physicist Harold Agnew stands outside a Quonset hut holding a small case that contains the plutonium core for the Fat Man bomb assembled on Tinian. Agnew later became the director of Los Alamos National Laboratory. The device exploded over Nagasaki on August 9, 1945, killing about 80,000 people in the Pacific War. Rita Hayworth poses beside her 1947 Lincoln, chrome bright against the rocks. Born Margarita Cancino, she rose from dancer to Hollywood star and wartime pinup. After Gilda, 1946, magazines called her the Love Goddess. She also danced on screen with Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly before easing away from films in the 1950s. A group of men and women pose beside the Mark Twain tree, a giant sequoia that once stood in California for over 1,300 years. Towering 331 feet high and 16 feet wide, it was cut down in 1891 by the U.S. Army to display its size at world exhibitions. Michelangelo's David, one of the most celebrated sculptures in history, was completely sealed within a protective brick structure during World War II. The precaution, taken in the 1940s, aimed to shield the marble masterpiece from bombings that threatened Florence. Albert Einstein and his wife, Elsa, were aboard the Kitano Maru in October 1922 as they embarked on a 6-month voyage to the Far East. During their stay in Japan, the couple was greeted like celebrities. Crowds of thousands gathered outside their hotel, hoping to see the famous physicist. Charlie Rouse, one of London's last night watchmen, photographed on Brixton Road in 1850. Dressed in heavy layers and equipped with a lantern, truncheon, cutlass, and rattle, he patrolled the streets before the rise of the modern police force. Louis Schaefer, a coal miner from Pennsylvania, stands inside the company's store at Westland Mine in 1946, holding his groceries after a long shift underground. Many miners like him relied on these stores run by the Pittsburgh Coal Company, where wages were often spent right back with the employer who issued them. Paul Alexander peers from an iron lung, painting with a brush held in his mouth. He caught polio at age 6 in 1952 and was paralyzed from the neck down. Using frog breathing, he learned to live beyond the machine for short periods, later earning a law degree and writing a memoir about his life. Faces in a Moscow crowd turned toward a radio on June 22, 1941, the moment they hear that Germany has attacked the Soviet Union. It was a quiet Sunday morning when V. Molotov's broadcast announced war. Within hours, Operation Barbarossa was underway along a 1,800-mile front, and millions were called to fight. In 1942, 19-year-old Lydia Martinez worked at a consolidated aircraft factory in California, operating a massive hydraulic press capable of producing 4,500 tons of pressure. Women like Lydia played a crucial role in wartime production, taking on demanding industrial jobs that helped keep America's aircraft industry running during World War II. On August 10, 1628, the Swedish warship Vasa left Stockholm for its first voyage, but sank only minutes later after a light gust caused it to tip and take on water. Buried beneath the harbor for 333 years, the ship was recovered in 1961. A father holds his crying son as they watch relatives depart for Buenos Aires, 1957. The family leaves Spain in search of work and stability during years of deep economic struggle. Thousands of Spaniards made similar journeys, hoping South America would offer the opportunities their homeland could not. After an all-night operation in 1985, Polish surgeon Dr. Zbigniew Religa sits exhausted beside a web of tubes. His assistant sleeps in the corner. The surgery was Poland's first successful heart transplant. Remarkably, the patient lived 3 more decades. Religa himself died in 2009 from cancer. French soldier Georges Roy, who lost both eyes and arms in World War I, stands beside his bride, Marguerite Lavenu, in 1917. They were from the same village in Normandy, but barely knew each other. When Marguerite heard about his injuries, she reached out and offered to marry him. Jazz legend Ella Fitzgerald sits in custody after a 1955 concert where the audience was integrated, a violation of local segregation customs. Police raided the venue in Houston and arrested Ella and members of her band on flimsy charges. She was later released, and her career only grew, earning 13 Grammys. In 1963, before GPS or digital maps existed, travelers could call a navigation hotline to ask for driving directions. Operators armed with paper maps and telephones guided callers through cities and across countries. A gaping wound in the bow of the German battleship Gneisenau, photographed in a Kiel dry dock after a British submarine's torpedo strike in the 1940s. Gneisenau was a Scharnhorst-class capital ship that raided Atlantic convoys in 1941. Repeated damage, including a crippling air raid in 1942, ended her service before war's end. In 1961, a salesman stopped at a gas station for his motorized roller skates. The futuristic skates, powered by small gas engines, were part of early experiments in personal transport. Despite their novelty, they never caught on. Dorothea Lange's 1936 photograph shows Florence Owens Thompson, age 32, with her children in a pea pickers camp near Nipomo, California. Titled Migrant Mother, it became the face of the Great Depression and helped trigger emergency food aid to the camp. Thompson was a farm worker and mother of 7, traveling for seasonal work. On January 16, 1942, Prime Minister Winston Churchill was photographed at the controls of a BOAC Boeing 314A flying boat. Churchill often flew aboard these long-range aircraft during World War II for secret transatlantic missions. The Boeing 314A could travel over 3,500 miles. Hachiko's final photograph, Japan, 1935. The Akita lay surrounded by mourners after nearly a decade of daily waits at Tokyo's Shibuya station for his owner, Professor Hidesaburo Ueno, who died in 1925. Hachiko's patience made him a national symbol of loyalty, and a bronze statue was raised beside the station in 1934. Jane Mansfield walking through New York City with her daughter, Jane Marie, in 1953. Mansfield was one of Hollywood's most photographed stars of the 1950s. Her daughter, Jane Marie, later followed her mother into acting, continuing the family's connection to entertainment. In late 1980s, Afghanistan, a man stands beside his homemade bus, a Kamaz truck carrying the fuselage of a Soviet Mil-Me-8 helicopter. Wartime scrap often became building material, and creative transport like this helped people move through mountain roads. The Mi-8 remains one of the world's most produced helicopters. Hollywood icon Steve McQueen meets Jane Mansfield in the early 1960s, caught in a moment that reflects 2 stars, McQueen, known for his cool, understated charm, and Mansfield, famous for her bold screen presence. George W. Jenkins, the founder of Publix, stacks boxes with a clerk in his Lakeland, Florida store, 1963. Known to workers as Mr. George, he opened Publix in 1930 and built it into an employee-owned chain. He pushed simple ideas, clean stores, fair pay, and friendly service. Market Street, San Francisco, after the 1906 earthquake. Buildings lie in ruins as smoke rises from fires that burned for days after the quake. Captured by H.C. White Co., this photograph shows one of the most devastating disasters in U.S. history, which destroyed over 80% of the city and left thousands homeless. Immigrant families share their first Christmas meal in America at Ellis Island, New York, 1920. Long tables hold soup, bread, and coffee as children sit beside tired parents. Ellis Island processed more than 12 million newcomers between 1892 and 1954, offering hot meals while people waited for medical checks and interviews before entry. In 1988, in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, a chimpanzee escaped from the city zoo, leading to an unusual standoff on a rooftop. The zoo director climbed up to calmly negotiate with the animal, showing remarkable patience. Women offering samples of Johnston's frozen pies at a grocery store in 1955. During this time, frozen foods were still a new convenience in American homes, and in-store tastings like this helped promote them. Johnston's was known for its slogan, "Not just good, but wonderful." Amy King and her boyfriend, Michael Theroux, both worked as flight attendants for United Airlines and often arranged their schedules so they could fly together. On September 11, 2001, they were assigned to United Flight 175, the plane that struck the South Tower of the World Trade Center, claiming both their lives. Nikola Tesla photographed in his Colorado Springs laboratory in 1899. He is seen calmly reading beside his magnifying transmitter as arcs of electricity surge around him. The image, achieved through double exposure, became one of the most famous portraits of Tesla. Inventor Russell E. Oakes models his automatic tip requester, 1955. The waste-worn box holds cash and a mechanical arm with a plastic hand that reaches out for money. If the tip is too small, a bold no-sale panel flips up. Oakes aimed it at porters and bellhops to make tipping unmistakably clear. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on anything.